You can turn off that one too.
That's too dark.
Is it? Dandavat Pranam, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Welcome to Shri Radha Vinodihari Mandir, Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham.
Jai Ho.
Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Pati Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vinodihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Harinam Sankirtana ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Gosvāmī Thakur Prabhupada ki jai, Tadiya Tirobhav Maha Mahotsava ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Oh, can you bring me the water from there? Thank you.
So I'll be back after.
Okay. So, as usual, we will begin with Mangalacharan, page 1 of this book, Sri Gauriya Giti Guccha. If you don't have it, then hopefully, I'm just going to check here. It's not recognizing me. 1 second. Jiva Pavan Prabhu very kindly and mercifully posts the bhajans and the Mangalacharan in the comment section of the thread. There it is. Ooh. Turning down the volume. Okay. Right now there's a massive storm in Vrindavan. Lots of rain and thunder and lightning and sometimes electricity cuts. So hopefully everything will go smoothly and we won't have too much disturbance to the live broadcast. Of course, today we are going to focus our everything, our minds, our bodies, our words, our hearts on remembering and sharing what we have heard from our Guru Varga about the glories of Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Mangalacharan. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Raghunathanvitam tam sajivam Sadvekam savadhutam Parjana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganam Radhika Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Shri Krishna Leela Katane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunashcha Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Nārayaṇam Tvam Shirasam Namami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromancha Shri Krishna Padabhidataika Hriddi Chaitanya Leela Amrita Sara Sara नारायणं त्वां सततं प्रपद्ये नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय गौरप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद् भक्तिप्रज्ञान केशवोऽनुत्तिनामिने अतिमर्त्यचरित्राय स्वश्रितानाञ्चपालिने जीवदुःखे सदर्ताय श्रीनाम प्रेमदायिने नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवर्षभारवी देवी दयिताय कृपाभये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दयिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वल प्रेमाद्य श्रीरूपानुग भक्तिदा श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनकारिणे रूपानुगविरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तध्वन्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसम्बोधे पदम्बुजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगव्वरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सजनप्रिय वैष्णवः सर्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतोपङ्गो मम मन्दं मतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदम्बोज राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमद श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्रीराधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो प्रेष्ठानिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन्द्रसरसारम्भी वंशिवतस्ततः कार्षण्येनुस्वनैर्गोपीर् गोपीनाथ श्रीस्तुनः वृन्दायै तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियायै केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी Satyavattai namo namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupasvarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahādavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritashvadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Harer Nam Harer Nam Harer Nameva Kevalam Talo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyatha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koro Edase. That's page 32 in our songbook. And once again, if you don't have the songbook, then just scroll to the most recent post of Jiva Pavana Prabhu, and you will find the bhajan there, along with translation, and usually followed by commentaries of our acharyas. And for the page number, you can scroll to the most recent post of Lavangalata. So it's page 32 in our songbook. Can you hear that? It's raining very hard outside. And the dampness has affected the rhythm. So this bhajan, Gurudev Kripa Bindudiya, is very near and dear to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Sudevi?
Yeah.
Would you mention that?
About
About this bhajan?
I was going to do it at that point.
Yeah, later.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Not now, right?
Not now.
Okay. Oh, should I ask what they want to do about the widows so that they
Not
can
now.
think about it?
Later.
Okay.
Thank you. Gurudeva Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trinape Khayoti Hino Gurudeva Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trinape Khayoti Hino Sakala Sahane Baladiya Koro Nijamane Spriha Hino Sakala Sahane Baladiya Koro Nijamane Spriha Hino Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trinate Khayoti Hino Kuruedasi Napekayoti Hino Sakale Sama Purite Shakati Dehonatha Jatha Jatha Sakale Sama Purite Shakati Dehonatha Jatha Jatha Tabe to gaibo Hari Namo Sukhe Tabe to gaibo Hari Namo Sukhe Aparadha habe hato Aparadha habe hato Gurudeva Kripa Bindu Diya Kuruedasi Napekayoti Hino Gurudeva Kripa Bindu Diya Kuruedasi Napekayoti Hino Kabehero Kripa Lobhiyaye Jano Kritarto Hoibe Natho Kabehero Kripa Lobhiyaye Jano Kritarto Hoibe Natho Shakti Buddhi Amiyoti Shakti Buddhi Amiyati Guru More Atma Satho Guru More Atma Satho Guru Deva Kripa Bindu Diya Kuruedasi Napekayoti Hino Gurudeva Kripa Bindu Diya Kuruedasi Napekayoti Hino O Jogyata Vichare Kichu nahi pai Tomaro Karuna Saro Jogyata Vichare Kichu nahi pai Tomaro Karuna Saro Karuna na hoile Kadiyo kadiya 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 Prano na rakhibo aro Prano na rakhibo aro Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Kuruedasi Napekayoti Hino Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Kuruedasi Napekayoti Hino Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Rūpānuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Guru Parampara ki jai. Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakur, page 40. And the reason I've chosen to sing this one is because it very accurately portrays the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Dushtaman.
Also, there are some favorite bhajans of his.
Okay.
Radha Krishna Bol Bol, which was requested, I think, by Chandrika, or... Anyway, it was requested. And Jaya Radha Madhava in Radha Kunda Tattva.
We'll see if we can do them today.
So I'm just saying, you know, if you could at least do one or two of them on behalf of...
So page 40, Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakur. Sudevi, oh, it's still going. Okay. Kripa Karo Vaishnava Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakura. Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakura. Sambandha janiya bhajite bhajite. Sambandha janiya bhajite bhajite abhimano hao dura. Abhimano hao dura. Sambandha janiya bhajite bhajite abhimano hao dura. Abhimano hao dura. Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakura. Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakura. Amito Vaishnava e buddhi hoile amani na hoyani. Amito Vaishnava e buddhi hoile amani na hoyani. Pratishtha shoyasi hridoyo dushive. Pratishtha shoyasi hridoyo dushive. Hoibo nirayo gami. Hoibo nirayo gami. Pratishtha shoyasi hridoyo dushive. Hoibo nirayo gami. Hoibo nirayo gami. Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakura. Kripa Karo Vaishnava Thakura. Tomaro kinkaro jalore tomar uchishta pada jalore sadanishkapate bhaji sadanishkapate bhaji tomar uchishta pada jalore sadanishkapate bhaji sadanishkapate bhaji kripa guru vaishnava kripa guru vaishnava Shrestha jani uchisthari nane bhave abhimano bharo nije shrestha jani uchisthari nane bhave abhimano bharo tai shishya tava Thakiyo sarvada tai shishya tava Thakiya sarvada naloibo puja karo naloibo puja karo tai shishya tava Thakiya sarvada Naloibo puja karo Naloibo puja karo Kripa guru vaishnava Kripa guru vaishnava Mani manodo hoile kirtane adhikaro dibe tumi Mani manodo hoile kirtane adhikaro dibe tumi tomaro charane Nishkapate ami tomar charane Nishkapate ami Kaliyaluti bhumi Kaliyaluti bhumi Tomar charane Nishkapate ami Kaliyaluti bhumi Kaliyaluti bhumi Kripa guru vaishnava Kripa guru vaishnava Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya 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 Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Kripa Guru, More Doya Guru, Prabhu Kripa Guru. Vaishnava Thakur ki jai, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Now, Sujanar Udaradhita Pada Yugam was written by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhar Gosvāmī Mahārāja and accepted by Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur Prabhupada. It is sung daily in every single one of his mutts. Page 260. 260. Sujanar Buddha Radhita Pada Yugam. Hare Krishna. Actually, I want to read the meaning first because it's so beautiful. And even though the meaning is probably posted there, as Jiva Pavan Prabhu posts the meaning, we may not all read it. So today's that special day, glorifying Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada on the anniversary of his disappearance. His 2 lotus feet are worshipped by an unlimited number of saintly persons, and he is the most competent personality to lead the process of realization for this age. Nam Sankirtan. His adorable lotus feet grant all kinds of benedictions and fearlessness. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. He is the leader of the assembly of saints who are powerful in bhajan. He is most compassionate to the fallen, as he is their sole refuge. His inconceivable feet deceive the cheaters. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada, when he's saying here, refers to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. His tall golden figure, which is very soft, mocks the pride of a golden lotus. His moon-like feet are worshipped by countless cupids. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He is the pleasing moon for his servitor stars, and with the excellence of a roaring lion, he removes inimical persons, causing them to flee in fear. Choosing the shelter of his feet, the innocent attain auspiciousness. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He has widely spread the splendor of Sri Gauranga's holy abode, Sri Navadvip. He has specially glorified Sri Gauranga's mercy throughout the whole world, and he has bestowed Gauranga's holy feet upon those who are most desperate for mercy. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He is the eternal refuge and universal guru for the devotees of Sri Gauranga. He is always dedicated to the service of his holy master, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and he is the abode of utmost honor for the feet of Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He shares renown with Raghunath Das, Rup and Sanatana Gosvāmīs, and is glorified the world over for emulating the philosophical genius of Srila Jiva Gosvāmī. He shares friendship with Krishna Das Kaviraj Gosvāmī and Narottam Das Thakur. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. Out of mercy, he reveals himself as the embodiment of Hari Kirtan. He is an eternal associate of Lord Gora, born to remove the great burden of the earth. His nature is even more loving and affectionate than that of a father. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He is a desire tree of benedictions for his surrendered servants. His patience and benevolence put a tree to shame. His divine feet are worshipped by the best of those who offer benedictions. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He is the best amongst Paramahamsas. He holds the treasure of the ultimate objective of life, Krishna Prem. He accepts the dress of a sannyasi to uplift the fallen souls. His feet are carefully served by the best among sannyasis. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He is a most beloved attendant of the daughter of King Vrishabhanu. I have taken shelter of his feet by keeping their dust on my head. Those feet possess immense and astonishing power to purify. I forever offer pranam unto the feet of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Sujanarbudaraadhitam padanyugam yugadharma dhurandharo patraparam Sujanarbudaraadhitam padanyugam yugadharma dhurandharo patraparam Varada bhayadáyoga pujya padam Varada bhayadáyoga pujya padam Pranamami sada prabhu pada padam Pranamami sada prabhu pada padam Bhajano Sajana Sanghapatim Patitadhikakaruni Kaikapatim Bhajanurjita Sajana Sanghapatim Patitadhikakaruni Kaikapatim Gativanchitavan Chakachintyapadam Gativanchitavan Chakachintyapadam Pranamami sada prabhu padapadam Pranamami sada prabhu padapadam Patiko malakanchana Dirghatan Nanunindita Hemaurinanamadam Patiko Malakanchana Dirghatan Nanunindita Hemaurinanamadam Madanarbudamandita Chandrapadam Madanarbudamandita Chandrapadam Pranamami sada prabhu padapadam Pranamami sada prabhu padapadam Nijase Bhakatarotam Ranjidum Vidutahirtam Kritam Singhaparam Nijase Bhakatarotam Ranjidum Vidutahirtam Kritam Singhaparam Varanagatabadisham Shandapadam Varanagatabadisham Shandapadam Pranamami sada prabhu padapadam Pranamami sada prabhu padapadam Uturi Vrittavaibhava Gaurabhuvam Bhuvaneshu Vikirtita Gauradayam Vipuri Vrittavaibhava Gaurabhuvam Bhuvaneshu Vikirtita Gauradayam Gayaniya Kana गौरपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं चिरगौरजनाश्रयं विश्वगुरुं गुरुगौरकिशोरदास्य परं चिरगौरजनाश्रयं विश्वगुरुं गुरुगौरकिशोरदास्य परं परमादृतभक्तिविनोदपदं परमादृतभक्तिविनोदपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं रघुरूपसनातनं कीर्तिधरं धरणीतलकीर्तितो जीवकलिं रघुरूपसनातनं कीर्तिधरं धरणीतलकीर्तितो जीवकलिं कविराजनरोत्तमं सत्यपदं कविराजनरोत्तमं सत्यपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं कृपया हरिकीर्तनं मूर्तिधरं धरणीपरहारको गौरजनं कृपया हरिकीर्तनं मूर्तिधरं धरणीपरहारको गौरजनं जनकाधिकवत्सनं स्निग्धपदं जनकाधिकवत्सनं स्निग्धपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं शरणागतकिङ्करं कल्पतरुं तरुधीकृतधीरगोदान्यपरं शरणागतकिङ्करं कल्पतरुं तरुधीकृतधीरगोदान्यपरं वरदेन्द्रगणार्चितं दिव्यपदं वरदेन्द्रगणार्चितं दिव्यपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं परहंसवरं परमार्थपतिं पतितो धरणे कृतो वेशयति परहंसवरं परमार्थपतिं पतितो धरणे कृतो वेशयति यतिराजगणैः यतिराजगणैः प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं शरणाश्रितरेणुधरस्तं महदद्भुतपावनं शक्तिपदं महदद्भुतपावनं शक्तिपदं महदद्भुतपावनं शक्तिपदं महदद्भुतपावनं शक्तिपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदं जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय 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 प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय Now, जे अनिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर Page 99 in our songbook, or whatever Jiva Pavana Prabhu posts in the comment section of the thread. 99. जे आनिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर जे आनिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर प्रभु कोथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर हेलो प्रभु कोथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर हेलो प्रभु गेला आचार्य ठाकुर हेलो प्रभु कोथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर ताहा मोर स्वरूप काहा सनातन काहा मोर स्वरूप काहा सनातन ओ काहा दास प्रभुनाथ पतित eko kale kotha gela purana Raj. Eko kale kotha gela purana Raj. Ashani kuntibo matha onole poshibo. Ashani kuntibo matha onole poshibo. Goranga gunero nidhi kotha gele pabo. Goranga gunero nidhi kotha gele pabo. Se sava sangiro sange je koi logilas. Se sava sangiro sange je koi logilas. Se sangana panya kande se sangana panya kande narotamodas. Je anilo devotees karuna prachur. Je anilo karuna prachur. Hero Prabhu kotha gela Prabhu pad thakur. 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Śrīla Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. And since today we are observing his disappearance anniversary from our vision, he requested at that time for one particular bhajan to be sung for him. And it's the same bhajan that our Srila Gurudev sang for our Srila Prabhupada, or had sung just before our Srila Prabhupada's departure. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, Semor Sampada, Semor Bhajana Pujan. The goal and aspiration of all true Rupanuga Vaishnavas. Page 50. Śrī Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada Śrī Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada Se Mora Bhajana Pujana Se Mor Bhajana Pujana Se Moro Prano Dhana Se Mor Yabharana Se Mor Prano Dhana Se Mor Abharana Se Mor Jiva Nirjivana Se Mor Jiva Nirjivana Se Mor Rasanidhi Se Mor Vancha Siddhi Se Mor Rasanidhi Se Mor Vancha Siddhi Se Mor Vedāradharama Se Mor Vedāradharama Se Vrata Se Tapa Se Mora Mantra Japa Se Vrata Se Tapa Se Mora Mantra Japa Se Mor Dharma Karama Se Mor Dharma Karama Anukula Have Vidhi Se Pade Hoive Siddhi Now Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koromore, page 96 in this songbook. And I don't know if you have the version with the 2 extra verses at the end. Doya Koro Prabhupada Shri Gayeta Das Vaishnavira Kripa Mage E Adhamadas, and Doya Koro Gurudeva Patita Pavan Shri Charane Seva Mage E Patita Jan. If you have those extra 2, that would also be really nice to be able to. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो रे तुम्हा बिना हे दयालु जगत संसारे तुम्हा बिना हे दयालु जगत संसारे पतित पावन हेतु तव अवतारो पतित पावन हेतु तव अवतारो ओ सम्मत हित प्रभु ना पाइबे आरो ओ सम्मत हित प्रभु ना पाइबे आरो आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सूची आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सूची कृपा बोलो कन करो यामी बोलो दुखी कृपा बोलो कन करो यामी बोलो दुखी दया करो सीतापति अद्वैत गोसाई दया करो सीतापति अद्वैत गोसाई तव कृपा होले पाए चैतन्य निताय तव कृपा होले पाए चैतन्य निताय हा हा स्वरूप सनातन रूप रघुनाथ हा हा स्वरूप सनातन रूप रघुनाथ भक्त जुग श्री जीव प्रभु लोकनाथ भक्त जुग श्री जीव प्रभु लोकनाथ Doya koro Shriya Charjo Prabhu Srinivaso Doya koro Shriya Charjo Prabhu Srinivaso Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamo Daso Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamo Daso Doya koro Prabhu Pada Śrī Dāmodaraṣṭakam Doya koro Prabhu Pada Śrī Dāmodaraṣṭakam Vaishnavero Kripa Mage Adhamo Daso Vaishnavero Kripa Mage Adhamo Daso Doya koro Guru Deva Patita Pavana Doya koro Guru Deva Patita Pavana Shri Charane Seva Mage Patito Jana Shri Charane Seva Mage Patito Jana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya koro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya koro Oma Vina Te Doyalu Jagata Samsari Oma Vina Te Doyalu Jagata Samsari Nitai Jai Gaur Jai Nitai Jai Gaur Jai Nitai Jai Gaur Jai Nitai Jai Gaur O Nitai He Gaur He Nitai He Gaur He O Nitai He Gaur He Nitai He Gaur He पतित पावन श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम सचिनंदन गौर हरि की जय श्री गौर परिवार की जय श्री सद्गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय श्री गुरुदेव की जय What were those bhajans, Sudevi? I don't know if we can do all of them.
Just one of them is fine.
Radha Krishna Bol, I was in Radha Krishna Bol Bol, Bolore Shobai. 170. 170. What's the tune that we learned when we were younger? Yeah.
I only know the old tune.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. Thank you. I was thinking of Sadhu Mahārāja's tune with the Dvital. O Radha Krishna Bol Bol Bolo Re 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 Shiksha Diya Swapna Diya Irchene Che Gornita Shiksha Diya Swapna Diya Irchene Che Gornita Viche Maya Raboshe Jacho Beshe Kacho Habu Bhai Maya Raboshe Jacho Beshe Kacho Habu Bhai Radha Krishna Radha Krishna Bol Bol Bolo Re Soba Ji Krishna Das He Vishwas Korle Toar Dukhanai Ji Krishna Das He Vishwas Korle Toar Dukhanai Krishna Bolbe Jabe Pula Khabe Jhorbe Anki Boli Kai Krishna Bolbe Jabe Pula Khabe Jhorbe Anki Boli Kai Radha Krishna Bolo Bolo Re Soba Radha Krishna Bolo Bolo Re Soba Radha Krishna Bolo Sangye Chalo Ei Matra Diksha Chai Radha Krishna Bolo Sangye Chalo Ei Matra Diksha Chai Hari Bol Bolo Radha Krishna Bolo Hari Bol Bolo Radha Krishna Radha Krishna Bolo Re Soba Radha Krishna Bolo Re Soba Jai Sakal Bipul Bhakti Viro Bihari Ji ki jai. What is the time? 6:24. Is that Radha Kunda Tata? Yes, sir. Radha Kunda Tata was one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's favorite bhajans. That is page 218. Or whatever Jiva Pavana Prabhu posts in the comment section of the thread. There is probably a 1 minute delay between what is... I don't know if there will be time for Bandhu Sangay today, but maybe tomorrow. So that rag is known as Rag Yaman. That's as much as I know. I remember the first time I heard this bhajan, we were at Biharban in 1996 with our Srila Gurudev. You know that beautiful picture of him, like the older one, sitting under a tree, very peaceful? I think it was taken there. And he had Krishna Das Prabhu sing, and Krishna Das sang this Radha Kunda Tata. And I thought, my God, that is the most beautiful song, the most beautiful tune I've ever heard. And then the famous Rasik Pagal Baba sang there for Srila Gurudev and the devotees, Mere Kanha Nazarat Tohe Lage Jayegi, which was also quite amazing. Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamunatira Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamunatira Kusuma Sarovar Manasa Ganga Kusuma Sarovar Manasa Ganga विलासम उदीपकमानि ए सब छोड़ तुम काहि नाही जानू ए सब छोड़ तुम काहि नाही जानू ए सब छोड़ तो परानो हराम ए सब छोड़ तो परानो हराम भक्ति विरोध कहे शुनकानो भक्ति विरोध कहे शुनकानो तू आयु दीपक हमार परानो तू आयु दीपक हमार परानो भक्ति विरोध कहे शुनकानो भक्ति विरोध कहे शुनकानो तू आयु दीपक हमार परानो तू आयु दीपक हमार परानो राधा कुंज तत्व कुंज कुटीरा गोवर्धन पर्वत यमुना तीरा राधा कुंज तत्व कुंज कुटीरा गोवर्धन पर्वत यमुना तीरा जय राधा कुंड जय श्याम कुंड जय राधा कुंड जय श्याम कुंड जय राधा कुंड जय श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड जय श्याम कुंड जय गिरिराज जय गोवर्धन गिरिराज जय गोवर्धन जय गिरिराज जय गोवर्धन गिरिराज जय गोवर्धन वृंदावन धाम जय वृंदावन धाम 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 श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय गिरिराज महाराज की जय श्याम कुंद राधा कुंड की जय Now Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari and Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I don't know what page it is. What?
Oh, we're not doing Damodarasṭakam.
No. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. 158 in the songbook. Most of you know it already, but anyhow. And if you don't have the songbook, Jiva Pavana Prabhu very kindly places it in the comment section of the thread here. Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivarodhari Jaya Girivarodhari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivarodhari Jaya Girivarodhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivarodhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivarodhari O Jaya Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanochari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanochari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanochari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanochari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Om Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Bol Hari Bol Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Gurudev Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada 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 Shri Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Shri Gurudev ki jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai Rupan Guru Varga ki jai Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai Tadiya Tirobha Maha Mahotsava ki jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Is it still storming out there?
I just heard thunder.
I thought it was monkeys.
No.
Forgot to light this before the kirtan because normally we do it for Damodarasṭakam. However, Śrī Dāmodara ki jai, Śrī Nārāyaṇa ki jai, Śrī Radha Bihari ki jai, Sachinandana Gaurahari ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Shalagram Shila ki jai, Laddu Gopala ki jai, Chota Chota Laddu Gopala ki jai. Turn this off. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swāmini Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabhraye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Nama Madhuryo Jvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinakarine Rupanuga Virudha Pasiddhanta Dhvantaharine Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandavat Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupad, Ashtotara Shata Shri Śrīmad, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. In the same thousands of Dandavat Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupad, Ashtotara Shata Shri Śrīmad, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. And especially on this day, the day of the anniversary of the disappearance of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada from this world, I offer my thousands of Dandavat Pranam in the dust of his lotus feet, and also to all of our Rupanuga Guru Varga, and to all Vaishnavas past, present, and future, including all of you who are present with us today, I offer my Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, dear Vaishnavas, Radhe 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 Shyam.
Radhe 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 Shyam. So today, we are observing the auspicious day, the anniversary of the disappearance of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada from our vision in this world. Our Guru Varga states that the appearance and the disappearance of Vaishnavas, for them, it is the same. Of course, for us, there is some speciality, but for them, they are always traveling on the order of Radha and Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from place to place, performing their eternal pastimes of delivering the fallen conditioned souls from the material world. So our Guru Varga have said that the appearance of any Vaishnava is like a Vaishnava coming in front of a window, and the disappearance is like they're coming out of view on the other side. But because they are completely in transcendental consciousness, for them, they are not affected by appearance and disappearance. Only those who are conditioned in the material world are affected by these things. Because they are fully saturated in Krishna Prem, they are on the platform of the pure soul engaged in pure eternal service to Krishna. But for our sakes, for us, the jivas in this world who require mercy, who require help, when we are calling out in extreme anguish for relief from the blazing forest fire of material existence, with deep sincerity, calling out in a mood of surrender, "O Krishna, I am yours, please help me." At such a time, Krishna's heart melts. Saranga Sharanagati Hoive Jahar Tahar Prarthana Shune Shri Nanda Kumar. For that person who calls out in a mood of surrender, Krishna hears those prayers. The son of Nanda Maharaj hears those prayers. And how do we know that those prayers have been heard? Those prayers meet us in the form of the spiritual master. The form of the condensed mercy and compassion of Krishna stands before us, accepts us, and vows to take us from our miserable material condition to eternal transcendental service of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. In other words, to bring us to the eternal intrinsic nature of our souls. So today is the anniversary of the disappearance of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. For us, because of the disappearance factor, also it brings about a mood of separation, wanting to know more about that person, and there's more of a gravity. For us, that is the speciality. On the appearance, it's like, woo! But the disappearance, it's always more grave, more serious, more intense. for us. And so on this day, we have the opportunity to deeply reflect upon the amazing gifts, the mercy, the compassion, the hard, intense endeavor that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada went through for the benefit of all of us and everyone in this world. We have this opportunity today to remember and think about and glorify or endeavor to glorify such a personality. So, I would like to call forward Sudevi, whom you haven't seen in a few days, to come forward and offer her Shraddha Pushpanjali, means her heart like thousands of flowers, in the dust of the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. What she has heard from our Guru Varga, what she has received from them, I would like her to share something. I just want to share that somehow she has always had a very strong affinity toward him. Once someone criticized him unknowingly, and she became red and started shaking like this, and such a deep mamata manifested. And I was like, who is that? Like how she was feeling so intensely possessive. He is mine. How dare you say that about him? And so from her, I also received a very strong inclination toward him because of her mamata, that mood. And so I want to hear from her about his glories. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai.
Could you hand me these things after?
Which things? Yes. Hare Krishna. Oh, old man. I had my knee folded behind me for my back.
Okay.
Oh, Jiva Pavana is already doing the hulu.
Please hand me my...
Okay.
Ajnanatirmirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam jena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, I was just, excuse me, my Dandava Pranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. I was doing the Mangalacharna there with Kishori Mohan Prabhu, so please forgive me for not redoing it. I was contemplating today how we hear that when we qualify or discuss the birth of a Vaishnava, that actually it's considered an offense. Oh, they're from this caste or from this country or this lineage, that actually they are free from all of those material designations. But yet we see that in our line that we always speak about the birth also, where they were born, what families they were born in. Why? And today I was thinking how extraordinarily important it is for us to hear about them. Like when we hear about Haridas Thakur, who is born, who appeared in the family of demons, the greatest demons. Wait a minute, did I say Prahlad or Haridas?
You said Haridas.
Yeah, okay, Haridas. They were Muslims, excuse me. And because I was thinking of Prahlad all of a sudden, Prahlad and Haridas. And Prahlad was born in a family of demons. Excuse me for that. My brain is still a little bit foggy because I've had a massive migraine for about 4.5 days. So please feel free to correct me and help me through this. I wanted an opportunity to be able to try to speak something for my own purification and to remember how merciful Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is to each and every one of us. So even though I'm not in a proper state of being, still I begged this mercy, and somehow or other I've been granted that, but I may make countless mistakes, so don't feel shy, correct me. But anyway, I was thinking how it's important for us, because so much of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are showing that it doesn't matter what lineage we're from, where we're born, in what kind of family situation we are born. It's all material designations. Really, we are all Nitya Krishna Das. But yet, when we hear about their births from different castes, from different systems, from different angles of vision, then we can see how Mahaprabhu's teachings are coming to life in our own Guru Varg. How even some of our stalwarts, like Rupa and Sanatan, were considered non-Brahmins anymore, even though they were Brahmins before, but associating and working within the Muslim government, the Prime Minister and Secretary. They lost their caste according to the external environment, so they were no longer considered Brahmins. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was showing through his own pure devotees that none of these designations and none of these angles of vision actually have anything to do with the soul. But when we remember them, we understand how Kishori Mohan Prabhu was saying, for them there's no difference. Their appearance and disappearance is out of sweet grace and mercy. But for us, when Kishori Mohan Prabhu said this day, this grave day of separation, immediately I remembered our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada's Viraha Mahotsav, and he says, on this day that you disappeared from our vision, I am feeling acutely lost and alone. So there is a speciality that brings about a mood of mamata, of mindness, that this person is my own person. And how do we gain that kind of mercy, that kind of intimacy? By hearing about them. When we hear about our acharyas, especially those who are so close to us, who are very, very integral to the preaching of Mahaprabhu in our lives, here and now, how do we get that mamata, that mood that that's my person? By hearing about them, by hearing those difficulties even that they have undertaken for us. Once our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja, he said that all of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's hard work, his hard labor, is our inheritance. So what was that hard labor? What did he undergo? What did he do? What does that mean? As sadhakas and as great-grand disciples, great-great-grand disciples even, it is our duty to find out who is this personality. And it's these days that afford us time to do that. Today is the day of a very important person in my own life. How is that? Who is he? What has he done? What has he given to the world? What were his specialities? And then we can dive deep and get some abundance of knowledge and relationship of that person, that personality. So these days are extraordinarily important for us. Even though we know they descended out of grace, so their appearance and disappearance may be the same to them. But to us, every moment that we can remember them is their appearance in our life. And every moment that we forget them is actually the disappearance. So today is really the appearance, because we are remembering. On any other day, we might not be remembering their glories, their attributes, their pastimes, their leelas. But today is the appearance of that. So for us, really, remembrance on any day is the appearance of that personality, because they are transcendental. They are not bound like us, bound by karma, like a noose around the neck, and we have to take birth. And according to our previous karmas, we enjoy and suffer, not them. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, appeared in our Christian era calendar in the year 1874. It was just previous to his appearance that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by the way, one of the extraordinary things about the birth of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that he was born one of the children of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If you look in our songbook, you'll find a very great prominence of Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur's songs. We mostly are singing theirs. And you'll find that Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur has written so many kirtans for every occasion of advancement or falling back in one's spiritual life. You'll find everything there. What to speak of in his books like Jaiva Dharma and so many, many jewels that he gave this world. So at the time, Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur was the magistrate. It was the highest position in the court of the king of England, actually, that anyone could have at that time, in India especially. So he was a court magistrate in Jagannath Puri, which meant that he was also in charge of the goings-on in the Jagannath Mandir in Jagannath Puri. So Bhaktivedānta Thakur one night had a dream, and in that dream, Sri Jagannath Dev appeared to him and was saying, "What are you doing? I didn't want you to come here to only worry about working and magistrating and doing all kinds of things in the court. I want you to preach. I want you to push Gaudiya Vaishnavism far and wide." And Bhaktivedānta Thakur began to cry and he said, "But I need help. I need so much help. I can't do it alone. There is so much against me." So at that time, Lord Jagannath said, "Oh, you should then pray to Bimala Devi, my Shakti. Pray to her and she will help you." So when Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur woke up, he began to pray to Bimala Devi, the consort of Lord Jagannath, "Please send me help. Send me your own person, your own," how did he say it? Your own, like your own person in your own. No, it was more like, you know, when you have a corporate manager and you have all people in your
representative?
Yeah, no, but it was said differently. Anyway, please send your own man, your own person. And so when the next child was born, it was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but upon his birth, everyone recognized that something was very different. The baby was born with the umbilical cord around his neck and around his waist or his shoulder like a Brahmin thread. And it is said that he had the marks of the Kantimala, like 3 strands around his neck. And when Srila Bhaktivedānta, and tilak on his body, also forehead. So when Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, can I have I'm cold. When Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, thank you. That's awkward.
Well, there's fire behind you too, be careful.
So when Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur saw him, he told Bimala Devi that this is not an ordinary child, that he is actually sent from the Lord. So at that time, he realized, oh, this did not go behind my back. Excuse me, I'm very sorry.
Careful with the fire.
Okay. So, let me finish. Where was I? So he realized, and he said that he is not ordinary. He is actually the mercy of Bimala Devi. So they named him Bimal Prasad. And Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, it is said that he took this Bimal Prasad under his wing, meaning he knew that he was going to train him quite knowingly in Vaishnava philosophy and very, very carefully. He wanted him to understand why he was brought to this world from the moment of his birth. This is really, really significant for all of us. When we hear about, especially, you know, nowadays we hear about Gurukul and things like that, and how children underwent all kinds of austerities and cold showers and maybe abuse and whatnot, maybe abuse in different kinds of ways. Sometimes we forget that the ultimate benefit of those children was given to them in the form of being able to hear Śrīmad Bhagavatam, being able to have these impressions of being at all the artis, being able to hear Chaitanya Charitamrita, being able to do Kirtan, being in Vaishnava association from the moment of their birth. This is the actual meaning of Gurukul. All those other side things are our karmic reactions coming back at us through whatever medium. It doesn't make it okay that somebody does that, but what is meant to come will come. Some were abused, some were not. And it all is dependent on different factors of our own karma. Although that may be heavy for some to hear, this is actually the truth according to Shastra. And our Gurudev said if we will begin to even try to follow this line of thought, that it will save our lives, because it will stop us from wondering why and what's happening and what's going on, and utilize the fact that we have this Krishna consciousness here and now and dive deeply. So this Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur wanted that his son Bimal Prasad was given Krishna Bhakti immediately from his birth. He knew, I'm going to train him differently. So they were in Jagannath Puri at the time, and we famously have heard how at the time of Rath Yatra, when Sri Bimal Prasad was only about 5-6 years old. Months old.
6 months.
I said years old.
You said months first.
Oh, please help me. I have brain fog. So when he was only 5 or 6 months old, the Jagannath Rath cart, it stopped in front of the house of Bhaktivedānta Thakur. Now normally if you see the Rath Yatra, it's only for about maybe a few hours. It's going from the Jagannath temple to where Gundicha Marjan. It's not Mandir. It's not very far. So it takes about maybe 4 or 5 hours, something like that, give or take a little bit. But on this day, it stopped. The first day of the festival, it stopped, and it waited outside of Sri Bhaktivedānta Thakur's house. One day, people are trying to push it, the cart won't move, they're pulling the ropes, massive kirtans going out. The next day again, they saw the cart won't move. Jagannath is waiting there, he's waiting, he's not moving. After 3 days, he stayed in one place. This is practically unprecedented. Since the time of Mahaprabhu, we hear how when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in front of Jagannath's cart, when Jagannath wouldn't see him, when he would go behind and dance in front of Baladev or Subhadra, then Jagannath would stop, he would become stunned and he would wait. And Mahaprabhu would, nobody could move it actually. Everyone was trying to pull the cart, and only when Mahaprabhu would touch his head to the cart would it immediately begin to go again. So who was powerful enough to remove this Juggernaut? The immovable Lord would not move. Thousands and millions of people couldn't move him, but he was standing still, holding his ground. At that time, Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur told his wife Bimal Devi, Bhagavati Devi, thank you, that it's just about, oh God.
Slow down. You don't have to rush for me.
It's just about time for his grain ceremony. So for anyone who doesn't know, the grain ceremony is at a certain time in a baby's life when they're about firstborn to 5-6 years old. They don't eat or take anything except their mother's milk. And then their first grains are offered prasad, that is like sweet rice, kheer, something sweet from the Lord, and they take that. It's a beautiful ceremony. And then afterwards, they lay out all different kinds of articles, and they lay the child down, and he gets up and he crawls, and whatever article he goes to, so let's say there's a Śrīmad Bhagavatam, there's pen and paper, there's gold, money, all kinds of things like that, and then there's like dirt or maybe cow dung, something like that, to show there'll be an agriculture. He's attracted to that kind of work, or they're attracted to money and Lakshmi and gold, or they're attracted to writing, or they're attracted to Śrīmad Bhagavatam, which means spiritual life. So today they still do this in ISKCON and all over India. So at that time, Bhagavati Devi went up on the cart and she put her boy down in front of Lord Jagannath. At that time, it is said that Bhima Prasad reached out toward Jagannath, and Jagannath's garland fell off of him and encircled the baby, all of the pundits there were like, oh, Hari Bol, this is very auspicious. He has just received the mercy of Jagannath. But I would think that our Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas might see it a little bit differently. We know that Lord Jagannath is actually like Dwarkadish, and he's there in Dwarka with Lakshmi Devi, and he's thinking, now I want to go to Vrindavan. So the whole mood of Rath Yatra is taking Krishna from Dwarka and bringing him to Vrindavan. But we can see that before proceeding toward Vrindavan, meaning Gundicha, before he could go to that place, he had to first get the permission of Srimati Radhika's Manjaris, who were there residing halfway on the road between that place which would be considered Dwarka and that place which is Vrindavan. They were staying there. Bhaktivedānta Thakur is Kamala Manjari, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Nayana Mani Manjari. So instead of thinking really that Jagannath gave mercy, we can understand that actually Bhima Prasad, Nayani Mani Manjari, gave his okay, yes, you can go to Vrindavan, you have my permission.
Nice.
We know that Krishna can't just automatically be entered into the Seva Kunja. He has to get the permission of the Radhika Dasis. So there he got that permission. And at that time, they did the ceremony where they laid out the books and all of those beautiful articles of gold and cow dung. And that baby Bhima Prasad immediately went for Śrīmad Bhagavatam and began to hold it very tightly. Everyone began to rejoice. So immediately when she took the baby down from the cart, Jagannath began to proceed toward Vrindavan. So this is a very extraordinary event, and it is recorded in the histories. It's not something that is made up from any kind of imagination or any false kind of glorification. And the reason I say this is because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, from his very youthful life, did not like anything that was not truth. If it was even material calculations of the stars, if it was teachers teaching any kind of historical point of view, if they manufactured something, if they told something that was untruth or something diluted or changed it in any way, no matter if they were his seniors, no matter if they were his teachers, he always very boldly would declare what is truth and what is not truth. This is not accurate. He would immediately stand up. No, he could not tolerate that. And so what to speak of in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, within the philosophy and within the works of our Guru Varg, there should be no adulteration, especially from those persons who are bound in this world. We will only dilute and destroy it. And again, after so long, everything will become like a pretense. It will become a bundle of sahajism. Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur saw at his time that Gaudiya Vaishnavism for about 200 to 300 years was completely covered and lost. And only very, very few Vaishnavas were practicing, but they were either in their homes or they were in the forest. They were Babas. They stayed away from all of what was known as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, meaning that they would do kirtans and they would read Bhagavad Gita and they would follow funeral processions so that they could get money. Or they would be doing all kinds of nefarious acts in the name of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the name of Krishna, performing sahajism, meaning pretending that they were above all of these material lusts and engaging in them, saying that this is service to Krishna and to Mahaprabhu. This is the mood of Mahaprabhu. So Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur had to come and try to eradicate that, and he needed so much help. So it is shown that from his very infancy, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhima Prasad, was very, very strong. Our Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Srila Prabhupada relates one history of our Bhima Prasad when he was about 3 or 4 years old. It is said that he went and he took a mango, a ripe mango, that was meant to offer to the Lord. And he was a child, so he took that mango very happily and ate it. Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur saw him, and he said, "Oh, you have done a wrong thing. That mango was meant for the deity, for the Lord, and you have taken it. You have taken what is the property of Krishna, and you have enjoyed it. This is wrong. Everything should first be offered to the Lord." And it was a slight chastisement on a little child. But at that time, Srila Bhakti, or Bimal Prasad, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he made a vow, "I will never take another ripe mango again." And it is said, Srila Prabhupada said that whenever we would offer him a mango, he would shake his head and say, "No," fold his hands, and he would say, "No, I am an offender, I am an offender." And there's one verse, shocking, huh? There's one verse that he used to quote, and it was quoting about that everything is the property of the Lord, and one should only take what is within their means, what they should take. Everything else should be renounced and given to the Lord. It is not for us to take. I don't remember, do you know the verse?
No.
I have it somewhere.
Prabhupada said this is
Yes. So when Srila Prabhupada was telling this history, this teaching actually, he said, "This is Acharya. This is one who teaches by example." He was a small child. He did nothing wrong. Really, it was not wrong because he was a child, but yet he made a firm determination, and throughout his life, he didn't take another ripe mango. It is said that, you know how when any Vaishnava comes, everyone brings fruits. Like when Gurudev would come, everybody would bring mangoes and the best fruits they could find and offer them. Or when it was time for initiation, everyone would bring the best flowers and the best fruits and offer them to Gurudev. So the same would happen at the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And it is said that the devotees didn't want to take them either because they couldn't be offered to their Gurudev. So they would be traveling and they would have like boxes of mangoes kind of rotting because they didn't know what to do with them. They would try to find a place at some point to offer them and distribute them, but they wouldn't eat them themselves. And this is also another lesson for us, how to be a disciple. Those things that my Gurudev doesn't accept, I also don't want to accept. If I can't offer them, meaning through my Gurudev, if my Gurudev won't take something, how can I offer it to Krishna? We're not talking about medicines and things for life, but in general, if we know that our Gurudev doesn't accept certain things, then we should try to be careful not to take them ourselves. This will also bring about a mood of mamata, mindness. My Gurudev doesn't like this, so I won't take it. Just like we follow Chaturmasya. Not every Acharya has these stipulations about, tomatoes? They do about eggplant, about tomatoes. Some people say, oh, the Mat couldn't afford tomatoes, but they could. We were there, tons of money was coming through, and some were still cooking with tomatoes at that time. So they had tomatoes. There wasn't a problem like that. Gurudev wanted us, and this was in 98, 99. Gurudev said, if you want to follow me and my mood, you won't take these things. Since then, it's become a controversy, but we were all very clear at the time. Gurudev did not want us to take them, and it wasn't about money. If it was about money, the devotees would have paid more. And throughout time, when more money was coming in and Gurudev was traveling around the world, we would have started giving more money and we could have had more tomatoes, easily rectifiable. Gurudev never changed his stance.
And it was your favorite food at the time, so you definitely would have had it if you wanted.
I have done tomato research. So anyway, the point is that then afterwards, when we started to follow Chaturmasya, our austerity was to not take tomatoes. But at the time, whenever we would see tomatoes, whenever we would realize, oh, we can't have that for 3-4 months, a mood of why? Because my Gurudev doesn't want me to. And I want his mood. I want to please him. So automatically giving that up for the pleasure of my Gurudev made me feel his mercy everywhere. It made me feel a mood of mamata, of mineness. I am his and he is mine. And I don't want anything that he doesn't want that. It's little things like that, or big things, depending on if you're Italian. It would be a big thing. So it depends, but if we can do some kind of austerity and think that my Gurudev will be pleased by this, then automatically a mood of this, he is mine. And because of that, then we will become stronger on the path of bhakti, and Guru Nishta will begin to move in the heart. It means a mood of determination to be close to Gurudev, to follow his moods, his words, his conceptions. This is very, very deep, and it can start at something so simple as a fruit or a vegetable. So these things are actually very important. Instead of making all kinds of excuses as to why we could or should or may want to do something, we should make all the kinds of affirmations in the world of why we should follow our Gurudev, why we can, and what will come about because of following Gurudev. This is the mood of a disciple, to be under some kind of discipline where we feel the presence of our Gurudev. If we are always taking and tasting and doing everything we want, then what discipline? Chanting Harinam for them is a gift. It's not a discipline. When they give Harinam, they think, I'm giving you my very life, my treasure. I'm giving you Krishna, my beloved. They're not thinking, now I'm going to give you something really tasteless to do for hours every day, and I'm going to torture you with it. That's not their mood. That's our mood, because we can't enjoy Krishna. So we think this is tasteless and I can't enjoy it and I'm not having fun anymore. But we can have fun with prasadam, we can have fun with kirtan, we can have fun with dressing Thakurji, or we can have fun with so many different things and pretend that it's all devotional service. But when we come into conflict with our enjoyment and what Gurudev wants, we feel some weight, we feel the presence of Gurudev.
Like when they did that little drama for Gurudev in Holland,
right,
in that festival, and they actually had a little boy, or one, they had a bunch of kids, and one was dressed like Gurudev with a beard and a turban, and the devotees were saying, that's you, Gurudev, and he was laughing, and all of the other ones were dressed as disciples. And then the Gurudev said something, the drama Gurudev, and all the kids screamed, threw their hands in the air, jumped up, and ran out of the room. And Gurudev said, what's going on? What's going on? And one devotee said, you don't know?
You don't know?
You don't know? The French, they don't like to chant their japa. The French don't like to chant their japa. And Gurudev was really confused. He said, I don't understand. Why would someone not like to chant their japa? He was very concerned and quite confused. Why wouldn't someone like to chant Hare Krishna? Because for him it's the most sweet thing.
So it is said that Shri Bimal Prasad was always going and accompanying Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur when he was going and giving discourses. And primarily he would go to, especially here, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And it is said that he would carry his father's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu to the Pandal and back home, and he would listen to Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur giving all of his explanations. At the age of 7 years old, he could recite the full Bhagavad Gita, but give elaborate purports to each verse.
Wow.
Now this is something extraordinary, because we know that at the age of 6 or 7, Kishori Mohan knew the whole Brahma Samhita, but he didn't know
the meanings.
The meanings. But not only the meanings did he know, because we know that in Badger, California, in front of Gurudev, so many of the Gurukulis would stand up and give a verse and give their meaning, but they couldn't give their own purport of the meaning.
What does it mean to you?
So once in Badger, California, my brother was called to stand up and to speak on the verse Daivayesha Gunamayi. And instead of telling Srila Prabhupada's translation, he learned Gurudev's. So he started to tell the translation according to Gurudev, and his teacher, Braj Prabhu, said, no, 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 and he started doing Prabhupada's, and my brother was like, no, and he got confused. So Gurudev said, never mind, in your own words, what does this purport mean to you? I mean, really? That's so philosophically hard to understand for anyone, what to speak of a 12-year-old boy. And my brother just was staring at Gurudev like, I don't know what to do here. Gurudev said, in your own words, in your own heart, tell. And my brother just started crying. And Madhav Maharaj had pity on him and said, oh, Lala, sit down, sit down. And you hear Gurudev, I have it on a tape. And Gurudev was saying, no, Gurudev was not going to have mercy on him. He was like, no, stand up.
That's real mercy.
And Madhav Maharaj was like, sit down, son. Lala, sit down, sit down. Thank God for the uncles, huh? So anyway, he could actually elaborately give purports. So this is something extraordinary. It is said that even when he was going to school, he was never seen to be studying. He knew everything, anything Sanskrit he mastered at the age of 12 to 14. His teachers were trying to teach him so many things. They were saying you could actually be liberated from this world if you know this and that. And at one point he said, then I reject you. If that is your goal of Sanskrit, I reject you. I don't want this kind of teacher. So he was constantly having difficulties with his teachers and correcting them. But also, it is said that he would always be found reading two books, Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. Those were his heart. There's one beautiful biography of him, and it said that actually one of his elder siblings severely chastised him, that he was supposed to be studying for tests and things, but he was actually hiding in his room reading these books of Narottam Das Thakur. So one other thing I wanted to say was that, it is said that he kept really amazing books from our Goswamis. I forgot the names of which ones that he had, but he kept them in pure Sanskrit without any kinds of translations in Hindi or Bengali, so none of his siblings or anyone around him could find out what they were and what he was doing, so he could pretend that they were like school manuals rather than his spiritual life. So that was kind of interesting. Usually us kids would do the opposite. We would do something...
Yeah, we used to say, let's go and read Krishna book, but instead we would go and play card games.
So he was very attached to these two books, which his guru, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, said would, if you want prem, if you have 2 rupees, go to the marketplace and get these 2 books, Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. So, geez, so many things.
It's okay.
So, Bhaktivedānta Thakur was building, I don't know if it was Bhakti Bhavan or Svananda Sukada Kunj, I think it was Bhakti Bhavan. Anyway, they were digging and they wanted to make a very good platform to build an ashram or a house. And at that time, they unveiled a deity of Kurma. And Srila Saraswati Thakur really wanted to keep it. It is said in Shastra that if you find a deity like that, you have to give it to a Brahmin. But Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur realized that Saraswati Thakur was very worthy, more than maybe any born Brahmin, even at the very young age of 7 or 8. And he awarded him with Harinam and Kurma mantra. Also, I believe Nrsimha mantra. He found a shalagram once, and he wanted to worship a shalagram. The Pandas and the caste Goswamis, the caste Brahmins, they would say that it's okay if Vaishnavas worship Giriraj, because Giriraj isn't mentioned in Shastra as worshipable, other than in Śrīmad Bhagavatam. But they're saying that only like Vaishnavas and non-Brahmins, they could worship Giriraj, but they couldn't worship Shalagram Shilas. Only Brahmins could. But Bhaktivedānta Thakur gave him the Narsingha Shalagram, and he refuted all of that. So constantly, throughout both of their lives, you can see that they are going to try to establish what is the mood and the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And again, this comes up in their lives about being born a Brahman and what is the difference between a Brahman and a Vaishnava. And we will discuss that more a little later. But it's very important. It's important for us because we are born out of any caste, actually. and were called, in their terms, mlechas, which means untouchables. Those born outside of India, born in meat-eating countries, were considered non-human almost. They wouldn't even touch us. They wouldn't accept a drop of water from us. So we are so fortunate to have had our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivedānta Thakur, in this world at those times where everything was dramatically changing in the world, and we were swept up in that flood, where there was nothing barring us from actually entering into bhakti. Every other time, in every other age, since how long? It's been held tight, it's been held almost hostage by the caste Goswāmīs and those Brahmins who are born in a seminal lineage that are saying this is our right and our property, even claiming to be followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswāmīs of Vrindavan or of Puri or of Mayapur and Navadvip. So many of them, oh yes, we're followers of Mahaprabhu, but we are Brahmins, so only we can actually give initiation. Only we have the right to do bhakti. Only we have the right to study the Vedas and Upanishads, and you get to hear from us and pay us. And so it was a money-making thing. Not with all, of course, just like when we speak about Babajis, we know not all of them are bad. Not all of them are Sahajiyas. We know this.
Not all Gaudiya Vaishnavas are bad.
Not all Gaudiya Vaishnavas are bad. So we understand that when they're speaking about this, this is just the general atmosphere of the time. And it does pervade until now. We do see it now. Even now there are devotees, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who actually feel privileged at the fact that they can honor those Brahmins who won't take a drop of water from a Westerner. They think it's a great thing. And according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's Vaishnava aparad. According to Krishna, it's not forgivable. Krishna doesn't accept that. He doesn't want that. And actually, a real Vaishnava is more than a Brahmin. Anyway, we will get to that. I kind of sidetracked a little bit, but it's important when you see what's running through the vein of their preaching and the vein of their lives. You kind of see that they had this running theme going throughout. And then you see what they've done and how the world has changed because of them. The face of the world dramatically changed because of these extraordinary personalities who have descended for us. So we should really take, I know devotees or anybody nowadays don't like we should. But I think that when we've heard our Gurudev speak so much, and he's talking about what the things that we should do that are favorable, it's not like trying to tell someone, you should do this, but we should is kind of like a, an affirmation, an inspiration kind of thing. We should really acknowledge these things because we are in the position we are right now, hearing about them right now, wearing tilak, having Thakurji, having access to Chaitanya Charitamrita, sitting in the holy dham, going to Mayapur, Navadvip. All of this is their mercy directly, not indirectly, not even hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but our Srila Prabhupada, we got to see him. He touched us, our Gurudev. This is, and we know the grand disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That's persons like Jiva Pavana Prabhu, Govinda Rupini Didi, Devaki Didi, Punya. They are the grand disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We get to see them. We get to talk to them. We get to know them. They've received the full mercy of their Gurudev, of our Srila Prabhupada. They were instrumental in preaching the Manobishtam of Bhaktivedānta Thakur, of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they also changed the face of the world as we know it.
Also a grand disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our Gurudev.
Our Gurudev. And so many of the stalwart acharyas that we know now, like Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Bhakti Swarup Siddhanti Maharaj, so many of them, Swarup Siddhanti Maharaj, so many. And they are also grand disciples, but we have them in our own lives, and we have seen their dedication and their perseverance on the path of bhakti. unwaveringly. They may fall, but they get back up. And we see their Guru Nishtha is so prominent. And this is really, really powerful for us who are very weak, maybe in the realm of Guru Seva and Guru Nishtha. When we look to them and they give their mercy to us, they can transfer those blessings to us because they have them. They have lived that. So powerful. So powerful. So at the age of 15, he was awarded, Bimal Prasad was awarded the name Śrī Siddhanta Saraswati because he had written a book on Surya Siddhanta. And actually there's a whole thing that went along with it. They were trying to bring in a lot of Western influence into the old style of the Vedic style of astrology, and they were trying to kind of revolutionize it and bring it more hip and make it more Western, because now there was a lot of British influence and Western influence in India. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur re-established, when he was in his teens, the prominence of following the Vedic process, and he gave every indication as to why. And they were so astonished by his knowledge and by his own treatise on the subject that they awarded him this name, Śrī Siddhanta Saraswati. So can you imagine how intelligent, what kind of a mathematician, what kind of a calculator he was? But around this time, actually he was quite older. I think he was 17, 18 when he accepted initiation. What were you going to say? You went like this. I don't know the exact age, but I wanted to talk about his Chaturmasya Vrat, but because Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj remarked on it, I want to speak about his initiation first, because I'm not sure. But it is said that his first time seeing Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, well, his first guru was Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur. We know this. He gave him Harinam, he gave him mantras, and he also trained him. But at a certain age, maybe anybody knows the age, they could actually post it. I don't know for sure what age it was. But Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, he told him that he should accept initiation from Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And there is a passage where he remembers seeing him for the first time. And Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was wearing some kind of a hat that looked like a lion hat. And he was holding a basket full of all kinds of puja articles and fruits and different things. And he was singing, Gotai Go Premamai Radhe Radhe. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was really taken back by him. And then Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj took the hat off and put it on him and gave him that basket. And he, at that time, wrote down this Kotai Go Premamai. It is said that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, anything that he read in his whole entire life, what he read or heard, he would remember after hearing it or reading it only once. And so it is said that even when he was in his later years, he would refer back to a passage in a book he read when he was 13 or 14, and verbatim he would give a whole paragraph of something to prove a point. Not to prove his knowledge, but to talk about something. And when they would go back and they would see that everything was word for word. He was such a Shrutidhar. Shrutidhar. It means that they have like a photographic memory, and everything that he read or saw or heard, he never forgot. For us, that would be hell, because we put in all kinds of things that are material. And when we're trying to move away from them, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Bharati Gosvāmī Maharaj, he said we constantly have 5 tape recorders recording everything that we do, see, touch, feel, and taste. And at the time we go to have that communion, that holy, precious time with Maha Mantra, then that tape recorder, one of them or all of them, begin to go. And all kinds of silliness, all kinds of useless rubbish begins to work in our mind, and then we become pulled by the senses. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so careful. It is said that he was never seen playing ball and doing child things. He was not interested in that. He was only solely interested in bhakti. Everything else he was doing because he needed, Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur realized that he needed some,
Don't worry about it.
because he needed some kind of academic knowledge to be taken seriously in the world. He saw that especially as the British were taking more priority and more prominence in India, he was seeing that more importance was put on education. So he really wanted to have Saraswati Thakur educated. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was young, I think he was like 16 or something, he invented a new style of handwriting that has since been lost, but he learned English, he learned Sanskrit, he knew Bengali, Hindi, he knew what else?
Like Urdu, Farsi, all of
so many languages for preaching. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur approached Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj and asked him, will you please initiate me? And at first Babaji Maharaj said, no, I don't want any disciples. I had one disciple and he left me. So now I don't want any disciples. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left. And then Bhaktivedānta Thakur said, no, go back. Do or die, go back. So he went back and he asked him, please, will you accept me? And at that time, Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he said, I can't even write my own name. I'm illiterate in you. You can count the stars in the sky. You are so scholarly. You know everything. You know even more than your teachers. What do I have to give you? No, I cannot give. And Saraswati Thakur again beseeched him, please. So then he said, then I will have to ask Mahaprabhu. Saraswati Thakur left.
Did you speak to Mahaprabhu?
So he asked him, did you speak to Mahaprabhu? And Saraswati, or Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, no, he didn't reply. He didn't give an answer. Saraswati Thakur at that moment said, Kandiya, what's that verse?
Karuna na
hoile, Kandiya, prana rakhibo ar. If you don't give me your mercy, then weeping and weeping I will give up my life. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that I used to put so much emphasis on my scholarly abilities, on all of the knowledge that I had. Oh, you have it.
Uzi?
Oh, can you maybe read it?
Sure.
Do you want to kind of sit here for a second so they can see?
I don't know if you can see me. 1 second. Let's see where.
I
Okay.
think here.
Under Mahaprabhu? Maybe. Dandavat Pranam. Okay, so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he glorifies his Gurudev. In fact, on the days of the appearance and disappearance of any Vaishnava, our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja said, really, that those personalities should be glorified in relation to their dedication at the lotus feet of their Gurudev. So here, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is revealing his experience upon meeting his Guru Maharaj, Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. I used to think of myself as a learned scholar in mathematics and philosophy, but by my good fortune I met my spiritual master. When he shocked me by pointing out that my great qualities, my truthfulness, my pure moral life, and my vast learning were insignificant, I realized how great he must be to consider such qualities insignificant. By his push, I could understand that there was no person as fallen and wretched as myself. I understood my actual position. Here was a great soul who placed no value on qualities such as learning and moral character, qualities I esteemed highly. I understood what an invaluable object this great personality must possess. I concluded that he was either extremely merciful or extremely proud. Right? If he thinks that all of these qualities are completely useless and they should be thrown in the ocean, then either he has something very valuable and he's being merciful, or he's just very proud and thinks himself very high. Thereafter, I took shelter of the Supreme Lord with humility. So he's showing the process. By the Lord's mercy, I realized that without the service and mercy of such an akinchan, that means someone who is possessionless, who has no desires for anything of this material world. Without their mercy, I could not achieve spiritual success. When I developed that good intelligence, I received the shelter and unlimited mercy of my spiritual master, and my life became successful. Here I am speaking about that most auspicious personality, whom I have realized by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, my own spiritual master. The shock I received from my spiritual master made me realize that unless people are similarly shocked, they will not come to their senses. It's very, very powerful that his Gurudev basically pointed at all of the things he thought were so extremely valuable in life. Moral character, his pure moral life, his vast learning, his honesty, all of these things. How much knowledge he had. He was the most brilliant person perhaps in, well, I think the most brilliant person in the universe.
Universe?
Yeah. But Srila Gaura Babaji Maharaj said, everything that you think that is valuable that you have, take it and throw it in the ocean and then come back. In other words, he didn't treat any of that as being valuable. The only thing that is valuable is Krishna Bhakti.
Thank you. So upon hearing him, upon hearing Saraswati Thakur having this mood that without your mercy, I will give up my life. What is the use of existing? Srila Saraswati Thakur was leaving, and Gaura Babaji Maharaj immediately, his heart melted. Also, it is said that Bhaktivedānta Thakur asked him, why are you torturing him? Just initiate him, please. And then Gaura Babaji Maharaj said, go and take bath in the Saraswati. That's a conjunction of 3 rivers.
Oh, Ganga and Jamuna and Saraswati are 3 different rivers.
Sorry, but where's the conjunction?
I don't know where this. That's in Prayag.
Oh, then it wasn't there.
There's the Jalangi.
Was it Jalangi? I don't remember, but he told him to go and take bath.
Krishna's playing his flute.
Really loud.
Deep like thunder.
So what was I saying?
You were saying that Bhaktivedānta Thakur petitioned on his behalf.
And so then he told him to go and take a bath, and then he gave him initiation, and then he awarded him the name Shri Bhakti. No,
Bhimala?
No, not Bhimala Prasad. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daita Das. I'll let Kishori tell the meaning of that name.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to take a couple of days, maybe 2 to 3 days for this, because it's too much to...
Well, the glories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada are unlimited, so how can we finish it in only 1.5 hours? That would be absolutely ludicrous.
It's near Puri, the place I mean. It is, but I don't remember the exact name of the river. It might have been Saraswati, I don't know. Anyway, Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daita.
Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daita. This is the name that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. This is the name that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was awarded by Srila Gaura Babaji Maharaj. Varshabhanavi Devi means Srimati Radhika. Varsha Mahanavi Devi of Varshana, of Vrishabhanu Maharaj's daughter. And Daita means the beloved. So Varshabhanavi Devi Daita means the beloved of Srimati Radhika, who is Krishna, the servant of that Krishna, the beloved of Srimati Radhika. But our Srila Gurudev gave another explanation to that. And he said Daita means also who is very near and dear. So Varshabhanavi Devi Daita also means, Varshabhanavi Devi Daita also means Sri Rupa Manjari. So who is the servant of Sri Rupa Manjari? That is our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada.
Nice. Hari Priya Mataji here is saying there is a conjunction in Navadvip Mayapur area of the 3 rivers meeting. I was told that and visited that place. So there was a conjunction. I just don't remember the place, but she's confirmed that there is a place there, and that's where he took bath. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so I wanted to speak a little bit about his Chaturmasya Vrat.
Not Chaturmasya. Was it Chaturmasya Vrat or is Chandra?
Chaturmasya.
Okay.
If the devotees want, we can go a little bit longer tonight, but if you just let us know if that's okay for everyone. I don't want to burn anyone out. So if you want us to continue, we'll continue. And if not, we'll continue tomorrow and the next day. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it's always continuous. So if you want, say yes. If it's time to quit, say quit. Thank you. So,
Someone said yes, please. Does that mean quit or not?
So they're saying okay. Okay, thank you. So, Srila Bhaktivedānta, do you hear that? Do you hear that thunder? It's scary. If Krishna's flute and his voice are like thunder, it's frightening, I just need to say.
In a kind of very attractive way. Keep going.
Okay, they want me to. Thank you, okay. So, Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati, Śrī Daita Das, Śrī Varshabhanabi Devi Daita Das. It's a very roundabout way of saying Krishna's name, isn't it? He decided to perform the Chaturmasya Vrat. Also, he saw that Srila Gaura Das Babaji Mahārāja and others were following it, so he undertook it. But as we know, Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur did not do things in a very kind of, oh, I'll just do this and I'll take out that. Even though Shastra says there are concessions. If you can't do this, do this. Do the best you can. Like our Guru Varga, our Srila Prabhupada even. It's like, okay, you don't have to give up all these things. Just do the main things. So for the first month, give up lettuce, give up spinach, give up leafy greens. And then, you can have it after a month. So they do that. And then our Gurudev was like, okay, I want you to do a little bit more. Give up eggplant, give up this, give up that, so many things. So we see that there are concessions. It's okay. They're in Shastra that we can have these. If we can't do it, if we're going out, like if devotees are going out book distributing and they're going out and they're doing kirtan and they're serving in so many ways. Even when Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur told one of his disciples to take grains on an Ekadashi. And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj speaks about this, that the devotee was saying, no, I don't need it. And Saraswati Thakur told him, you should take it. And he didn't want to do it. And so then Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj went to him and said, what are you doing? Guru Maharaj knows that you need this extra energy. You're not just sitting doing kirtan today. You're going out. You have to travel. You have to do all of these different sevas. So he is foreseeing that you should do this. It's not breaking your vrat to follow the order of your guru.
Just so you know, if it is the order of guru, according to Shastra, that would be one of the only bona fide reasons to break the grain fast from Ekadashi, on the order of guru.
So it was the order of Saraswati Thakur to do that. And why was I saying that? I'm so scatterbrained. Because there are concessions. There are concessions that Shastra makes, that Guru makes. It's not the norm. So Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur did not really follow the line of concessions when it came to his own personal spiritual acharyata, where he was showing how to follow. So when he did the Chaturmasya Vrat, what he did was he took one meal a day, and he took it, I think it was just boiled rice with some salt. I know, not even salt, it was some boiled rice. There was no salt. And he took it, it said like an animal, like a cow, that his hands were behind his back. And he would go down, eat it on the floor with just his mouth. And that he would, once you got up from that, you don't go back down. That's all you had for that day.
Wow.
And so he followed. He slept on the floor. He didn't sleep in a bed. He didn't sleep on a mat, on anything. He just slept on the floor. And he began to follow this Chaturmasya Vrat, so much so that his body was becoming sick, but he didn't go to the doctor. So Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj saw him, and he was astonished. And he said, oh, in my Prabhu, he called him Prabhu, my Prabhu. He said, in my Prabhu, I see the renunciation of Rupa and Raghunath. Can you imagine? This is Sakshat Vairagya Murti, the Murti in the embodiment of renunciation of all kinds of things of this world. Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj would eat mud. He would eat rice that was uncooked. He wasn't worried about the taste of anything of this world. He lived in a latrine. He lived in all kinds of places, like, under a boat. He did all kinds of astonishing things. He did not have any care for the worldliness of the body. And yet, when he was seeing Saraswati Thakur's Vrat, he was astonished. And he said, I see the renunciation. And what is really Vairagya? It is actual very deep rag, deep attachment. And Vai means what? Speciality. A speciality. What was he doing? He was tasting all kinds of moods of love of Krishna. Us, we would be suffering and probably need to go to the hospital. But Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur saw that he was so dedicated to this that he actually put a stop to it, that it was too much for his body. And he tried to pacify him and to make him do a different kind of work for some time, because he was very, very, we would say, full on. Also, I'm going to skip some of the things because, well, maybe not. Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, there was a king, what?
The world is still in kind of a lockdown. We have all the time in the world to glorify our acharyas, so we don't need to rush on the glorifications. Let's just keep going.
Okay. So there was a king, and this king wanted Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur to come and to give discourses and also to help him with management and do so many things. So Bhaktivedānta Thakur thought, my son is quite useless in the world. He doesn't know how to live in the world. Like our Gurudev said, his Gurudev was with them, and how even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was with his disciples. He was like, oh, what will they do? They can't do anything on their own. If you need to sell the bricks in the mat, then sell the bricks, so that you can eat. They had this mood for their disciples. So Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur also had this mood towards Saraswati Thakur. He can't really exist in the world. He's not ordinary. So he brought him with him, and they went to the place of the king. And at that time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took advantage of the king's library. So we have to understand, at this time in the world, we've already discussed about the caste Goswāmīs and the seminal Brahmin lineages, and how they kept Shastra, they kept the Vedas, they kept the Upanishads, they kept everything to themselves, and they would give as they chose to the people. So it was very hard for anyone to come across any kind of books of Shastra. Like we know, it took Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur 5 years to just get a proper copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita that he copied himself. It took him 5 years. Now we just go on Google and we can download it, or it's in everyone's house. We have it at our fingertips at any time. But at that time, they didn't have it. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur began to just basically plunder that library, and he started to read all of the books of the king. And at that time also, the king had some sons, one son, I think. And it is said that Saraswati Thakur stayed on. The king wanted to employ him. He's like, oh, you're so knowledgeable. You know Sanskrit, you know math, you know Jyotish, you know everything. So I want you to teach my son, the prince. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur began to teach to the prince. And the prince started to become really attracted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to this life of giving everything and to surrender to Krishna. And so the king got afraid and he thought, this won't do. He's our only son. And the queen went to her husband and said, you have to get rid of him, get him out of here. He's going to make our only son a renunciate, and what will we have? So they fired Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur. They fired him. But they said, I'll give you lifelong payment. I will continue paying you. And it was a lot of money at that time. He said, I will continue paying you, but you have to leave. We can't keep you here anymore. So it is said that he took that money for maybe a couple of months and then he stopped. He didn't want it. At that time, Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur started traveling all over India. And he was going to all of the pilgrimage places of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Excuse me. And his associates. And so not only was he going and having darshan of those places and recording those places, but he was also searching in many different temples, many libraries. He was searching for all kinds of proofs of Śrīmad Bhagavatam, of delineation of Shastra. He was actually gathering all kinds of information on the four sampradayas. He was doing all kinds of collection of really obscure scriptures and very beautiful books that he collected and that were his prized possessions, because in them he was able to kind of, we hear about Paramahamsa. He's a Paramahamsa. He was taking out all those things that were not necessary and those things that were pointing to pure, unalloyed bhakti. He was taking out and extracting, like a swan extracting milk from even water. He was able to pull those things out and refine them for us. There's one history when Saraswati Thakur was in Jagannath Puri. I forgot the name of the place he was staying, but there's one temple there that was from Shankaracharya's time, and it's a big Mayavadi mat there. And Saraswati Thakur was going there every day, and for hours he was having discourses and discussing, but really learning about monism, about Mayavadi theories and philosophy. And it is said that people around were thinking, what's going to happen? He's going to become a Mayavadi. But actually, Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur was trying to understand everything about their conceptions, their ideas, their philosophy, their teachings, so that he could take them and refute them, so that he could smash these conceptions and bring people to theism, and not only that, to bring them to the path of bhakti. So merciful. And so, when we hear our acharyas, our Guru Varga telling us, be careful, don't associate with Mayavadis, don't go to those places, don't take anything from them. Gurudev said they will have us like dizzy in a moment. They will tell you about Krishna and Vrindavan. They can tell you Śrīmad Bhagavatam more than we can, and they can do it weeping. And at the end, they kill Krishna, and they go to nothing. They go to this, it's all one. We get rid of the form of God. We get rid of his beautiful transcendental form, his paraphernalia, his relationships. We get rid of all of that. It's just a stepping stone into the great bliss. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to just smash that. So he is that personality who is so strong, who is able to sit in the face of that and not be moved 1 inch. Those things have nothing to do with him. At that time, also when he was in Jagannath Puri, he was giving regular discourses on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it is said that there was one Vaishnava, his name was Radharaman Das Babaji Goswāmī, and not to be confused with the one here that was at Radharaman. It's a different Goswami. But he was the one who made up this really cute jangle called, what is it? Nitai Gaur
Radhe Shyam Japo Hare
Krishna Hare Ram. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivedānta Thakur were trying to tell him that this isn't good. He was friends with them, and he would also come to hear the discourses of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Saraswati Thakur would try to tell him, don't do this, this is not authentic, rather it's rasabhas and it's bogus. This is a distortion of beauty. It's a distortion of rasas, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam. This doesn't go together. You can't put Nitai Gaur and Radha Krishna together. Srimati Radhika will never be comfortable in the same atmosphere as Baladev Prabhu or Nityananda Prabhu. There's no mixing there. That doesn't happen. Not within.
Why?
Because he's the elder brother, because
Yes.
According to relationship, that cannot be done. Anyone who has any mood of understanding of Ras Tattva, they will never ever accept this kind of thing. Also, this person was saying that Mahamantra was too profound and too deep to be spoken out loud. It should only be quiet during japa. So this is like a condensed version of the Mahamantra. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was saying that this is completely and totally, thoroughly against the teaching of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu wanted the Mahamantra to be broadcast far and wide, loudly, everywhere. This is not the teaching. And so one day, when this Radharaman Das Goswami Babaji was there in the class with many of he had thousands of followers, and Saraswati Thakur was fighting with them, trying to tell them, don't do this, this is wrong. This is creating a sahajism, this is false, it's not a truth. And so he was giving his discourse on Chaitanya Charitamrita, and at that time, he found a point where he was able to really blast this idea of this mantra, this new thing. And so he started just really tearing it apart, giving all proofs as to why it's bogus. And that person, Radharaman Das Goswami Babaji, cut all ties with him. It is said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was even out in the streets, like grabbing people, trying to tell them, don't chant this. This is bogus, this is wrong. And people were pushing him and they were like, get away from us, you're crazy, you know. And then at one point, they were making a plan to kill him. This is also a theme in the lives of many of our acharyas, especially those who don't conform, which our acharyas don't. I don't know anyone that did. But we find that since the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going against the Qazi, Haridas Thakur going against the Muslim government and chanting out loud Mahamantra, and Narottam Das Thakur, all of our acharyas since then, they have all shown that they will not compromise on the truth. They will not compromise on Mahaprabhu's, I guess you could say the cult, the culture. On Mahaprabhu's teachings. They will not compromise. And so throughout their lives, you see that so many are trying to kill them. It happened with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I think Narottam Das Thakur. They were
criticizing him and they were plotting something.
Yeah, they were plotting. And also, not with Baladev Vidyabhushan, but he had to go and establish Govinda Bhasya, and then we have Bhaktivedānta Thakur, and also when he was
the vacation guy.
Yes, when he tried to kill him, and then now Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. At this point in time, Bhaktivedānta Thakur had to intervene and told him, you have to go to Mayapur. So at that time, I'm going to finish up after this Leela because we have so much to tell tomorrow. So Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur told him to go to Mayapur and to take care of Mayapur at that time. So you know how it is now. It's kind of everything built up. But back then, it was very, very difficult for Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur to get anyone to go and stay there. There was nothing around. It was all jungle, and it was very, very lonely. So at that time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went there, and he built his own hut, and he decided that he was going to chant 1 billion names of the Lord. 1 billion?
Billion names.
In less than 10 years. I think it's 9 years, 5 months, and they have it down.
There was 3 lakhs of Harinam a day for 10 years or something.
3
right?
lakhs of Harinam a day. It is said that when he began this Vrat, it said that Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur also undertook a Vrat at one point of chanting 3 lakhs a day to chanting up to 1 billion. But Saraswati Thakur, for sure, we noted, and he built a hut, and it is said that he had only those manuscripts, those beautiful books that he collected and was studying with him, and his Harinam Mala and an umbrella. And he would chant. He would only eat very little. He would sleep on the mud, on the ground. And it is said that if it started raining, he wouldn't try to fix his roof and do anything. He had his umbrella. He would open his umbrella and he would continue chanting. He had no time for anything else, just chanting the holy names of the Lord. At that time also, within that time span, he did write a Brahman and Vaishnava. There's a beautiful essay that he wrote, a Brahman and Vaishnava, right? Or is it Vaishnava and Brahman?
Brahman and Vaishnava.
Brahman and Vaishnava. So he wrote this to kind of refute the Brahmins. They were really becoming loud and boisterous because Bhaktivedānta Thakur and Saraswati Thakur were making a very big noise. They were bringing prestige back to the lineage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswāmīs of Vrindavan, our Goswāmīs. And they were establishing what is the mood and the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that it is more strict than anything they could imagine. It's not the nefarious dealings that are going on with the Sahajas, that are having sex with widows, that are doing Gauranagari Bhav, that are doing all of these things that are absolutely opposed to Mahaprabhu's moods and teachings. So they were making so much noise that people were losing business, they were losing respect, and they were losing all kinds of adoration and clout. So they were very, very upset. At that time, there was going to be a very big meeting with many, many Brahmins, and they were going to have a debate. And one of the Radharaman Goswāmīs, his name is Madhusudan Goswāmī. He was a very close friend of Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur's, and he's in the lineage that kept the doors open for Saraswati Thakur when he came to Vrindavan. We'll get to that tomorrow. But he was there, and he didn't believe in this idea of seminal lineage, that I'm a Goswami because I was born in this home, and I'm a Brahmin because I was born to Brahmins. Bhaktivedānta Thakur also obviously didn't agree with this, but this Madhusudan Goswami, who was born a Radharaman caste Goswami, also was against this idea. He did not believe it. So he was very, very against it and wanted to go to this meeting to help refute their idea. Bhaktivedānta Thakur at that time was performing his Leela of having really, really bad rheumatoid arthritis, and he couldn't get up and move. He was practically paralyzed. And so at that time, quite young, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came to him and showed him his essay, and he read it to him. And it is said that Bhaktivedānta Thakur actually got up and was so excited. He was really so happy, and he gave his blessings. He said, you go in my stead. You go instead of me, and you delineate this. You give this to everyone. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to this big gathering, and so many Brahmins and caste Goswamis were coming. Now, I want to just make clear here that we always are told to respect the Brahmins, and we are also very respectful of the Goswamis, especially those who are respectable. We don't consider that anyone just born in a family is such and such, but yet we should understand that those births are also not ordinary. They have undergone so much to have a birth, whether in the holy dham or whether in families that are very upright and Brahminical, at least, families. So it's not saying that we don't honor and we don't respect. Just like the demigods, we don't separately worship them, but we honor them. We respect them. They're Vaishnavas, they're devotees of the Lord and they're servants of the Lord. So we honor them, we respect them, we bow to them, but we don't worship them separately from Krishna. So we have to make sure that, at least I want to make sure that I'm not making any offenses. When I'm saying this, it's to actually describe a certain mentality of persons. Not all Brahmins are like that. Not all caste Goswamis are like that, like this Madhusudan Goswami.
I just wanted to share in this connection, there was once a diorama set up by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and his disciples. And many different dioramas depicting so many different pastimes and different teachings. And one of them was a Brahmana using shalagram shila to crack nuts.
What does the significance of that mean?
It represented basically using Thakurji, using the deity to make money. So like you will find even in some of the temples here, they'll open the curtains for you if you give more money, and they'll let you have, or private, darshan of the deity, using the deity to make money. So Saraswati Thakur basically had this diorama made of a Brahmana using shalagram to crack nuts. Means for his own sustenance and his own food. And the Brahmins complained to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and he said, immediately put Vaishnav tilak on that on the diorama. So that's like what Sudevi was saying. Not all Brahmins are bad, not all Babajis are bad, and not all Gaudiya Vaishnavas are bad either. So,
but it's kind of, when I'm saying caste Brahmins, caste Goswamis, seminal lineage, it's a mentality that we're alluding to. It's not necessarily Brahmins and Goswamis or, anyone of a high character. And I just wanted to say that it's not in an offensive mood, but it's to show that this mentality is actually offensive, and it's considered, especially the caste Goswamis, an apasampradaya. We can't mince words to please anyone. We have to be honest with the truth and what it really is. But at the same time, we can't say that being born in Vrindavan, in a family that's worshipping Radharaman or Radha Gopinath or Madan Mohan is an ordinary thing. I mean, any of us wouldn't even say the grass and the trees are ordinary. So we're not trying to make any kind of offense, but the mentality is considered offensive.
well, it can be also a disqualification for bhakti, that if one thinks I'm so great, I'm so high, then how can they develop that mood of trinadapi sunichena, the humility required?
It's actually hypocritical if they're actually trying to say that they are followers of any of the Goswamis, like Rupa, Sanatan, Bhatta Raghunath, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunatha, to say that I'm in this lineage and that I'm a follower of Mahaprabhu in this Goswami that was a follower of Mahaprabhu, but I'm actually putting importance on a Brahminical caste, or I'm saying that I'm a Goswami by birth, then this is directly in opposition to those Goswamis and to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there is no way out of that. So this is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is establishing, the truth, as we know he cannot give up.
And what about proving your lineage?
Well, this goes when I start.
Oh.
I'm just going to give a little rendition of what happened.
Okay.
And then, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, little time. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he went to this big meeting, and Madhusudan Goswami told him, just kind of stay hidden and stay quiet, off to the side for some time. Don't start any talks off to the side or do anything. I just want to keep it quiet for now. So then when the meeting began, Saraswati Thakur entered the assembly, and it is said that it was obvious to everyone who should be the first to speak, even though he was considered the most junior. So they called Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur up to speak. And immediately, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati began glorifying the Brahmins. Everywhere in Shastra, he was using Shastric references to glorify them, to show their prominence and their preeminent
And superiority.
status and their superiority and how important the Brahmins are. So, and feeding the Brahmins' bellies is feeding Vishnu, all this thing going on. So he's telling it, and the Brahmins were like, wow, this is great. They were even surprised by the things he was quoting, because even they didn't know them. They were just like, whoa, this is better than what we had planned. So they were all satisfied. When Saraswati Thakur was done, he said, okay, does everyone agree? Does anybody want to have any contesting issue with me here? Do you have any corrections? No. Everybody was completely satisfied. Then he said, okay, now we've spoken about the preeminence and the prominence of the Brahmins. Now we will speak about the Vaishnavas. And then he began everywhere in scripture, from places where they never knew of, pulling out all of these beautiful quotes, even from the Lord himself, and actually showing eternally what is the nature of the jiva. He was pulling everything out and actually smashing this idea. He was the first person, it is said he's the first person at this meeting to actually tell them and challenge them, prove that you're a Brahmin by showing me that your lineage has been undiluted and untainted since the time of Brahma. If you can do that, then I'll accept that you are a born Brahmin, that your lineage has not been even slightly, at the time of even Bhaktivedānta, the time of the Gosvāmīs, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, if even a Muslim's shadow touched them, or a drop of water, this is how they converted so many people. They would throw water on them. They would completely lose their caste, and they would be considered Muslims. So he's saying, tell me that since the time of Brahma, I'm challenging you to prove your Brahminical status. How can they? It's impossible. No one can. So then they became really angry and started to become upset. But at the same time, they realized, many of the Brahmins left, but many of them were actually kind of shocked. And they realized there is truth to be found here. So these are not the Brahmins we're talking about. Maybe by birth, they were indoctrinated into this idea that you are special because of this birth, this. But then hearing the Shastra quoted, first about Brahmins, then about Vaishnavas, they were actually pure at heart enough to understand truth. Pure enough to understand that this is actually right.
We were also born into a situation like that. You were born in a family of devotees. You were special. You were demigods in a previous life. You're Vaikuntha children. All of these ideas. And when we came to our Gurudev, he didn't bat an eyelid. He didn't take any notice. There was none of that. He wouldn't have it for a moment.
He only used it once for preaching.
Yeah, that we've never taken onions or garlic or something.
He's like, you've never taken meat? And we're like, no, I'm not drinking, no, Gurudev. And he looked at everyone else, and I think it was at a public place, and they were kind of like, ooh.
But it's easy to convince someone that you are the special one, you are the chosen one. You just feed them enough of that, and the ego brings you to that point. But really, that is diametrically opposed to Mahaprabhu's teaching. How can we engage in serving Sri Harinam Prabhu with that ego that I am the best?
Well, actually, I have a friend, she was telling me, maybe she's watching, I don't know. But she was telling me that at least where she is, I won't say where she is, but the Gurukulis only hang out with Gurukulis. And if a Gurukuli talks to someone who's not a Gurukuli, they feel really, really privileged and really special. And sometimes if they're like honorary Gurukulis, they're allowed to be with them, meaning those who were born and raised.
The cliques.
And that sometimes they go, oh, I only talk to Gurukulis, or I only hang out with Gurukulis. Because there's a status, there's an idea that they're special because they're born like this. But actually, we should understand that they have worked so hard from time immemorial. They have worked so desperately hard to have come to this point, to be born into the lineage of Sri Rupa Gosvāmī, Bhaktivedānta Thakur, Bhaktivedānta, the lineage of Gaudiya Mats, of Gaudiya Vaishnavas from Saraswati Thakur into the institutions of Srila Prabhupada or Gaudiya Mat, that they were born and raised as Vaishnavas in this lineage. Do you know what kind of hard and austerities and labor they have done since time immemorial? Why impress this outer bull on them? Why give this idea to them? It's not different from caste Goswami or being born a Brahmin. It's
Caste
not
devotee.
caste devotee, caste coolie. What is that? We're not special. No one is special. Krishna is special. Krishna knows that. He's like, I'm special, so everyone should worship me. And that's what we are trained for. And if we are born into situations where people artificially massage the ego from our birth, yeah, it's special. But any moment we come in contact with Sri Guru is our birth. Every moment that we have hearing their Harikatha, chanting the mantras they bestowed upon us, reading the books they have given to us, that is our birth. That is everything. Being born in a situation doesn't necessarily mean anything. If someone walks in off the street and they meet Srila Prabhupada and they can hear him and they understand, I'm not this body, I am a spirit soul and I am meant for the pleasure of Krishna, and then they dedicate themselves to the life of their Gurudev. How much more impressive is that than a baby sucking its thumb or pooping or, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What is this?
Shiva Pavan Prabhu, he posted something good.
Being born in a family of doctors. I already know where this is going. May increase your chances of becoming educated to become a doctor, but one is not considered a doctor simply by being born into such a family. And would you trust such a doctor? No. We know that even Advaita Acharya, I wanted to say, even Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur, he rejected some of his siblings. We know that our Param Gurudev also rejected his siblings. We know that just being born in the same situation as a Mahabhagavat doesn't make someone a Mahabhagavat. Just being born and sharing a womb doesn't make you something. So our acharyas have taught this. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went and smashed these conceptions. Misconceptions. What did I call them?
Conceptions.
Oh, misconceptions. At that time, there were thousands of people who had come, whether they were Brahmins, caste Goswamis, or just onlookers wanting to understand. People were astonished by him. And it is said that Saraswati Thakur was trying to walk out and they wouldn't let him move. They were grabbing at his feet like a mad tsunami rush at him. And it is said that he didn't let people touch his feet. And so what they did was they forcibly took him out of that crowd. The police actually were there because they thought, anyway, it's going to escalate. There's going to be something that happens here. But actually it was to protect him from the adoration of the crowd. And they pulled him aside and they actually washed his feet. And then they gave that water to everyone to satisfy them. And then they kept him in protective custody because everybody wanted to talk to him. Everybody wanted to know him. And so this was actually like one of the beginning, we could say the beginning of his out preaching. At that time, he was more doing internal bhajan. He was chanting 3 lakhs a day. He was going very, very deep inside, chanting, becoming like a madman. It is said that at some point he grew very long hair, like dreads. And
he didn't grow dreads, it just happened naturally.
And actually he was like a madman, laughing and playing in a lake and just chanting the holy names. He was just absolutely in his own internal service to Krishna. And this is when he began to come out of that phase, and it was time for him to begin his preaching Leela. So I'm going to stop here because it's already after 8:30 in the evening here, and I don't want to go too long and burn anyone out, but we will continue tomorrow with the glories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But before we end, I know that this is really off on a different thing, but I wanted to ask the devotees what they thought. And so we have discussed about giving chadars to the widows of Radhakund and Vrindavan, but we've gotten the feedback that many people give chadars and blankets to them, and they actually sell them.
So many people donate chadars to them.
So that they can get money, so that they can buy toothpaste and potatoes and rice and their necessities. And we don't want them to sell those chadars for less than what we bought them and go through the whole work of that. So we were wondering, with your permission, about what you would think about us just handing out donations to them, like maybe 50 to 100 rupees each, rather than them having to go and sell the chadars again. So if it's okay with you, if you give your permission, we would rather do that than waste the donations of the devotees for them, that they can actually get the things that they need, rather than what we think.
Add another chadar to their go down.
Yeah. So if you give your permission, then we would like to just give a donation. So now, one thing before we end, I just want to read one thing from Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur. You can put your answer to yes or no.
They're already saying yes, they like it.
In the comments, but here's my getting older moment.
Yeah.
I want to read this because this is the last instructions from Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur, and I got it from, I believe it was this book or something that Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Mahārāja, it was his own notes during this time. I've also read the ones from Sadananda Swami, the German disciple of Saraswati Thakur, and I've read, I think, one from our Param Gurudev. And this one is the one that it was the first one I read, so I've always had it with me, and it touched me deeply. So this is the last, it's in here, right? Yeah, it's in this book, but this is the last kind of instructions of Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur. And because this is his disappearance day, I wanted to share it with all of you. I keep it in my nectar book. As you can see, this is my nectar book.
It's all handwritten.
Not all. This isn't. So this
Most of it.
This is just something that...
That's only one of her nectar books.
that I wanted to share with you, because this is the very last kind of thing that he spoke to all the devotees before he went, very internal. And he gave them at different times. And you can see that the different Vaishnavas put them down differently. But this is, in essence, everything that he was speaking before he left. I mean, there were things that he spoke about wanting to give, you know, this mood of seva to Srimati Radhika. He wanted to give, you know, he lamented that he couldn't give these things. I was contemplating with Kishori today, like, well, how did Gurudev, you know, give us so much when his Srila Saraswati Thakur's disciples were so stalwart? I mean, they were, but anyway, I think it's just to show that it's not a child's game, and that we should take this very, very carefully. What our Gurudev has given us shouldn't be treated as something, you know, what? When will it be published? Hare Krishna. I saw Kishori laughing. Okay.
As you were saying, it shouldn't be taken lightly. It's not a game. It's something very serious.
What our Gurudev is, because, you know, if we take it lightly, then we are like those who are making this sahajya, just walking around, you know, talking about Manjari Bhav and this and that, and like it's nothing. Like it's, you know, you can walk down Loy Bazaar and talk about it. This isn't what we do with something that we hold the most cherished. It's something that you will only speak about with your very near and dear, and that even in private, and that even mostly, you know, you want to hold very tightly to only show to your Gurudev.
Yeah, there's only 25 of them watching now.
I'm not speaking about it. All right, so here we go. I don't know if it might be better for you. I feel tongue-tied. Please.
You want me to read it?
Please preach the kirtan of the Supreme Lord, even if in doing so you have to incur debt. Then in order to pay off that debt, you will have to be even more engaged in seva. When your creditors put pressure on you, you will be forced to beg for more alms. Again, as the pious householders will not give you alms unless your character and conduct are pure, you will be forced to preserve a pure lifestyle with great determination and care. I will not leave one penny for you, and in that way, in the future, you won't be able to indulge in laziness, and you won't be able to give up your devotional lives full of Hari Kirtan and Hari Seva. The mat, the temple, is the center of Hari Kirtan, and Hari Kirtan is life and consciousness. To ensure that there is no place for laziness, bad conduct, trivial thought, gossip, or vulgar desire in the mat, you have to go from door to door where your Hari Kirtan will be tested by the public. When the public will think that they are the givers of alms and you are the receivers of alms, in other words, that their status is higher than yours, they will criticize you in many ways, thinking you are the objects of their mercy. Perhaps some of them will also be ready to kick you out. Then on one hand, you will be able to become Trinadupi Sunicha, humbler than a blade of grass, and Manada, respectful to others. And on the other hand, you will take great care to make your lives and character pure and exemplary. Furthermore, what will be beneficial for you is this: as you will correct their mistakes of the common people by citing the message of Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru Varg, you will not make those same mistakes. Please do not become upset if someone criticizes you personally, but your Guru Varg, Shastra, and Mahajans are completely faultless, supremely liberated, and eternal associates of the Lord. If due to ignorance someone criticizes them, then you should correct that person's mistake by telling them the real truth. This will be very beneficial for both you and the ignorant people. If you become lazy about begging for alms from door to collect ingredients for Hari Kirtan, and you indulge in laziness and bad habits, preferring reclusive bhajans so that you can escape others' criticism, then your character will not be purified. You will not have the life of devotional practice. I will never give you the opportunity to become deceitful in the path of devotion in the privacy of your own home. I will never give you any opportunity to live in a reclusive place so that you can become undisciplined in your heart, thinking that no one will come or see and hear you there. You are my dearmost friends. I will never allow you to get into trouble. I will never allow you to give up the path of pleasing the senses of the Lord so that you can please the senses of the people of the world as well as your own, because you received some temporary position or you could not tolerate some temporary criticism.
Wow.
So this is just one part of that last instructions from Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur. But being that we were preaching and traveling, still preaching, but traveling for 18, 19 years and being fully dependent as we are on the mercy of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas, this kept me going. It kept me alive, because sometimes I would become afraid. What will I do? How will I be able to serve? What will happen? What about the future? Your mind goes crazy. And again, when I would read this, I would realize that we are always dependent on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And if our mood is to serve the Hari Kirtan of our Gurudev and our Guru Varg, if we can repeat that, if we can like parrots, tell everyone what we have heard from them, then automatically Guru and Krishna will maintain and everything will be sustained beautifully. So this was my almost daily reading and my solace when I would become perturbed or frightened about the future or what we will do, or if we created some controversy by telling the truth and half the world was against us, which you have all seen many times. This half is against us, now that quarter is against us, now that half is against us. Oh, now these ones are against us again, now those ones are joining. So we've incurred a lot of that by trying to speak the truth, but not trying to do it to hurt people or to try to antagonize, but actually because we want to keep the integrity of what our Gurudev and Guru Varg have given to the best of our faulty ability. But we know that we can't make concessions on the truth. And whether or not we become popular is another thing. But actually to speak the truth according to Hari Guru and Vaishnavas is essential for all of us. Otherwise the truth will become easily covered. And then again, like our Gurudev said, he was in Badger and he said, you are all so fortunate to be here now, to be in this association now. In 100 or 200 years, it will be hardly available anywhere. So we've seen that after the time of Baladev Vidyabhushan, that after that, a very dark period, maybe 200-300 years, very, very dark time for Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Then Bhaktivedānta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our Śrīla Prabhupada, our Gurudev, our Guru Var coming in the line of Saraswati Thakur. But now we see that some darkness is still rising. But we have so many stalwarts, whether they're in Gaudiya Math, whether they're in ISKCON, whether they're Babajis. We don't know where or who they are, but they're upholding these religious principles very strongly, very unpopularly, but they're very strong. And this is so important for us who are always looking for the truth and never knowing where to go. When that person is speaking the truth, we know it's safe. It's not from anyone's mind. It's not from their own concocted ideas, but it's solidly founded in the moods, the conceptions, and the teachings of our Guru Varg. Our Gurus have told us when we are preachers of the truth, we should never say, I think, I feel, my opinion. These things are not relevant when there is when someone is preaching. What we think, what we feel, what our opinions are, don't matter. Those are ours and those are conditional. But what is the truth? What is the truth according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, Hari Guru and Vaishnavas? This is essential and this should be preached. Examples may be given, but this is the utmost importance for us. And Saraswati Thakur was the embodiment of that. So on this day of his disappearance, every time I say that, I remember Srila Prabhupada's Viraha Ashtakam in honor of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Very, very heartfelt and sad and beautiful and hopeful, but separation mood of our Srila Prabhupada for his Gurudev. I remember that and it makes my heart overwhelmed. So on this day, I pray that we can actually ascertain the truth, understand what it is when we hear it, and be able to stand in the face of any kind of opposition. And we are so very indebted to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for giving us Srila Prabhupada. I mean, what more? What more could anyone ask for? He gave us Krishna. He gave us everything in the form of our Srila Prabhupada. And because of Srila Prabhupada, we were able to meet our Gurudev, our Guru Varga. We owe everything to our Bhaktivedānta. And it's so extraordinary that we can sit down and remember and appreciate and honor because it directly impacts us so deeply on a mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual way. In every single way, we have been impacted by this great Vaishnava who we owe everything to. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak a little bit today. And I hope that tomorrow I can continue and give Kishori Mohan Prabhu a chance to say something.
Oh, no, it's my turn tonight. I'm going to speak for only 40 minutes. I just have a few things to say.
So, thank you so much, dear Vaishnavas. My Dandavat Pranam. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasalubhyavcha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo. Jeez, how do you get out of here?
It's entrapment by all of these. It's like Guru Tattva, all the instruments for the service. So. Okay. And.
I'm just gonna go while you're playing Mridanga.
Okay, so we're just gonna do a quick Mahamantra. Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nupar Guru Varga ki jai, Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaur Hari ki jai, Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai, Tadiya Tirubha Mahamahotsav ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Madhaveti. Bolo Radhe Radhe Radhe. Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe. Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe. Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Gaur Premanande, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.
Sham.
3 times, no?
Sham.
3 times the camera.
Oh.
Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Sham. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
You guys, I'm still getting over a migraine, so my mind is a little woozy.
And so thank you all very much for being with us this evening and for giving us the opportunity to remember the beautiful teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and especially on this day, giving us, especially that part of us, the opportunity to remember, to glorify the speciality, the teachings, the life, the examples, the lessons that of Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And also, we cannot express enough our indebtedness to each and every one of you for daily giving us the opportunity to follow the order of our Śrīla Gurudev, to do this seva. Because of you, we're able to follow it, and that is our life and soul. So we are indebted to you for that. We look forward to being with you tomorrow and continuing remembering the beautiful glories and the teachings of Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
Radha
Radhe.
Vinu Bihari Ju ki
Jai.
jai. Śrī Satyanandana Gaura Hari ki jai.
Jai.
Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur
Prabhupada
ki
jai.
jai.
Govinda Rupini Didi, I'm fine now. I'm
Ki
just
jai.
getting over it. Ki jai.